In case you didn't hear, it was 6:55 will be the song. Shortly. You know, it's not any problem to look around you and listen to the fake news and what have you and understand that our nation's in a terrible state. And we wonder how it got there. I'm fixing to show you and tell you how it got there. It's something that happened, and I mean it's a lengthy reading, and so I want you to bear with me because I've got some information here that I've had for several years and been laying off to do this, and so I decided tonight to do it. It's began way back several years ago, but some more people, some of our influential people, picked it up and run with it. You probably never heard of a guy named Saul Alinsky. I know some of you may have. He died about 52 years ago, but his writings have influenced those in political power of our nation. Is still playing up in the background of the minds of those that are in power now. A lot of them. Saul David Alinsky, he was a writer, was an American community organizer and writer. He is generally considered to be the founder of the modern community organizing movement. He is most noted for his book, Rules of Radicals. He died June the 12th of 1972 in Carmel, California. He's educated by the University of Chicago. He wrote 2 books that are ruling our political people. And they're called Rules for Radicals and The Revival for Radicals. Wikipedia says this about him. Saul David Alinsky was an American community activist and political theorist. His work through the Chicago-based Industrial Area Foundation, helping poor communities organize to press demands upon landlords, politicians, bankers, and business leaders, won him national recognition and notoriety. Hillary Clinton wrote her thesis on him when she was in college, on this character, with the philosophy that he had. Obama uses him several times in the books that he wrote, talks about him. Here's what he has to say. He says, How to Create a Social State by Saul Alinsky. He said there's 8 levels of control that must be obtained before you're able to create a social state. And the first of them is the most important. All 8 rules are currently in play today. And when you hear them, you can relate to what's going on in the country today. Number 1, health care. Control health care and you control the people. Think about it. You go to a doctor and you got 15 minutes to talk to him. Number 2, poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easy to control and will not fight back if you're providing everything they need. Right? Now think about where our country's at. Debt. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. This way, it'll be easier to increase taxes and it'll produce more poverty. Number 4, gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way they're not able to create, that way you'll be able to create a police state police state. Number 5 is welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives, food, housing, and income. Education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. Religion. Remove the belief of God from the government and schools. Class welfare. Divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent and it'll also be easier to tax the wealthy with the support of the poor. Everybody, take it from them. Now, don't that sound like what's going on in our country today? Sounds exactly like it. Alinsky merely simplified Vladimir Lenin's original scheme for world conquest by communism under Russian rule. Stalin described his converts as useful idiots. The useful idiots have destroyed every nation in which they have seized and throughout history. You can look at that from time to time. So we say, what in the world is God's people to do? When you turn to the Bible, it reads like this. Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation for themselves. Romans 13 and verse 2. And then in Titus 3 and 1, it says, remind them to be subject to rulers, to authorities, to be obedient, to be ready for every good work. You know, if that was all the Bible said, we'd be in trouble. We'd be in trouble. We'd be in total subjection to the ones that rule in the country. So, you know, it wouldn't matter what they were doing. We'd be in total subjection. But Peter and the apostles, they knew that too. They knew the authorities had power. And they knew that God ordained all of the authorities it is. But they got into a situation where the apostles were trying to be told something that God told them to do. So now we got a problem. We got the authority that has the authority because God gave them the authority. And then we got God here telling them to do something else. And what are we going to do about that? Well, Peter made a remark about it. He said, we must obey God rather than man. And you know, that's the very thing right there that keeps us going in this country. We as Christians, that's it, that we have got to obey God rather than man. I know all these things are going on right now in our country. You can take every one of them and you can point to it where it's happening. Think of these schools, what's going on in these schools. You know, government, taking God out of the government. They took it out. It used to be that they'd have a prayer every time when they brought in the Congress. I don't think they do that anymore. We had a judge where I came from in Kentucky. I admired mightily. He was a judge, what do you call it, a circuit judge that went from, you know, town to town and taking care of the court system. And when you went in his courtroom, the first thing he done before anything was ever said, he said a prayer. I admired the man much for that. And I don't know about his background, but that's what it was. In 1 Peter 3:22, who is at the right hand? And this is Peter talking about Jesus. You know, he's been talking about Jesus. Now he's going to make a remark about it. He said, who is at the right hand of God, having gone into heaven after angels and authorities and powers be subject unto him. Oh, whoa. Now we got some more information here. Jesus, God has put all things, angels, authorities, and power under his subjection. Well, everything and everybody now is in subject to God, to Christ. Even these people that are doing these things, but they're going to do them anyway. So to please God, we must be in subjection to the Lord Jesus, no matter what man may say. When, you know, it's always been a situation when the countries get so bad, something has to be done. And I am worried about this country because it's getting to the point that you read about the countries in the Old Testament, the things that they did, we're doing, and we're not as well. They're better. They were doing more of it than we're doing, and God destroyed them. Jeremiah 50 and verse 9. For behold, I am going to arouse and bring up against Babylon a great horde of nations from the land of the north. And they'll draw up their battle lines against her. For there she will be taken captive. Their arrows will be like an expert warrior who does not return empty-handed. Also in verse 14, draw up your battle lines against Babylon on every side. All you who bend the bow, shoot at her. Do not spare your arrows, for she is sinned against the Lord. You know, this country is sinning against the Lord mightily, mightily. And you think even our religious people today, so-called, are doing the same thing. How many religious people do you know that are sanctioning abortion, homosexuality, women preachers? You know, how many you know of us doing that? The country's full of them. And we've even got people with our name up over the door doing that. The Church of Christ. We've got people up there doing that. Well, this country here was getting pretty sorry. And you see what God done? He said, Babylon, we're going to take care of this. We're going to fix it. He makes the nations great then destroys them. He enlarges the nations and leads them away. He makes a nation great. This nation has been great, and he allowed it to be great. But we have deteriorated it so bad that he could destroy it. He could destroy it. Every country there is in the world, just about virtually every one of them, I'm sure there's just some that's pretty much neutral, don't care about nothing. But the ones that are in the world, they hate us. They hate us for more reasons than one. And it wouldn't take very much for all of them to get together and conquer us if God allowed it. That's the only thing right now that's holding it out. God does not allow it. He allowed it for this people here where Babylon came and took away. Psalms 22:28, for the kingdom is the Lord's, and he rules over the nations. And that's something this nation has forgotten, that God is in charge. And we're going headlong into atheism in a way that Alinsky laid out, and they're following it just to the letter. You think about it. You just think about what I just said, what I just read, and see what you think about it. So the conclusion, what is the conclusion of this? Listen to God. Stand for truth. Hold fast the faith. Be alive for God in word and deed. Pray always, and God's will be done. Thank you. I hope that's some interesting stuff for you. I know it's good to me. I read it once in a while. I've got it in the computer. It's been there since before the days of Obama and those others, and it is inspiring to read it and see what's going on. I hope you enjoyed it. If there is one in the audience that needs to obey the gospel for any whatever reason, or want the prayers of the congregation, or for whatever reason, let it be known while we stand and we sing this song. There's a fountain